Ironic that I finally have beta footage, but I'm talking about something more general. So, let me take you back to Bad Company. Alright, EA decides we want to make more money. We don't want this to just be a PC exclusive series anymore. This has got to be a console game. Problem. At the time, consoles could only support 12v12 multiplayer. So, how do you translate the feeling of the big, epic battles from Battlefield that are normally 32v32 when it's only 12v12? Well, what they came up with was Rush, where what you do is focus the action onto a section of the map at any given time with a couple of point objectives, not even flags, but now, originally they were gold caches, now they're MCOMs, which concentrate the action to individual buildings, ultimately individual rooms. So you're packing, everybody into small areas, so that even though there's only 12 people on each team, they're all being packed into a small area, which keeps the pace of the action up. It was a good idea. It worked. A lot of people liked it. Now, there is a problem. And the problem is that it was designed to compensate for the lower player count. Rush does not work at higher player counts. Anybody who played Rush in Battlefield 3 on PC, where a lot of server admins made Rush 64-player, knows that Rush doesn't work at high player counts, because it turns every single MCOM into a clusterfuck. Every single MCOM turns into Operation Metro. It is awful. And if you want that classic Battlefield experience with more players and more space to play in, you can't get that with a small player count, even when playing Rush, because at the end of the day, it's still just 12 dudes shooting it out with 12 dudes. To keep the action high, they can't spread out that much. And even if they could spread out, they all have to converge on the MCOM anyway. Now, Battlefield 1 invented operations, which had this unique game style that was sort of a evolution of Rush, because operations were still 64-player. They were still 32v32, just like Conquest, but you could only fight over sections of the map at a time. However, those sections were much larger, and you were fighting over flags. You were fighting over Conquest flags, not MCOMs. So that meant that not only could players spread out when actually capturing the objective, but it also meant they could spread out when approaching the objective, and they could stay spread out. And that facilitated the higher player count, while still forcing everybody into a narrower area to keep the action up, and also to facilitate the fact that these were supposed to be based on actual battles, vaguely, and in an actual battle, there's an attacker and there's a defender. Very rarely do you have guys just going into an area like in Conquest and just sort of everybody running around, going all over the place. There's a defined front line where there's a side that's defending that territory, and then an attacking side formulates some kind of plan to attack and break through the defenders' positions and take that ground. And that's what operations did. In Battlefield 5, this was generalized to the breakthrough mode. They got rid of the cinematics, they got rid of the historical context. You still had that with grand operations, but in the generic mode, breakthrough, they got rid of all the context, they got rid of the multiple waves, so it was just a one-and-done thing. There was sort of a prototype of it in Battlefield 1, which was Shock Operations, which was a 20v20 single-map version of Operations. Now, sadly, Battlefield 5 sucked, but Breakthrough, in my opinion, is a successful translation of the ethos, the design ethos of Rush to a higher player count. Because, again, Rush at higher player counts is a meat grinder clusterfuck. It's not tactically interesting. It's not fun to play. And in many cases, the maps aren't even designed to be played with that high player count in Rush because, of course, it's for a lower player count, really, right? Anybody who tried playing 64-player Rush on Damavan Peak knows exactly what I'm talking about. Now, why do I prefer Breakthrough to Conquest? Well, as I said, it keeps the action up. Conquest has always had this problem, especially on larger maps, where players will work around each other instead of against each other. They will follow the path of least resistance. They will backcap points that aren't defended. And you'll have what people have taken to calling the merry-go-round, where there's no real front line. There's just roving packs of players constantly trying to get around each other and take undefended flags. It leads to a lot of downtime between fights, and it makes the fights smaller scale than they could be, less intense than they could be. Breakthrough, like Rush, keeps the pace of the action up. It's exciting. It also makes each team a defender and an attacker. It delineates those roles, which also makes it feel more like an actual battle. Again, only in vibes. This is Battlefield. This is not a milsim. It's obviously not realistic, but vibes-wise, it feels more like an actual battle. You have one side attacking, one side defending, and you cram them into a smaller area so that there's always lots of targets very near to you for you to shoot at. But because it uses flags as objectives, players can spread out more, and therefore a higher player count can be reasonably accommodated than in Rush. That's why Breakthrough is better, in my opinion, than both Rush and Conquest. That's why it's my favorite game mode. That's why I'm so pissed that, of the 3 Breakthrough maps we have in the beta right now, one of them is complete trash, right? Like I said before, Liberation Peak is fucking garbage. No thought was put into how it would play on Breakthrough. It needs a complete rework. It just doesn't work. But I still play it anyway because I still prefer the higher octane action of Breakthrough.
T-Reps of losses coming in. Watch your backs. Hostiles have secured Alpha. We are targeting Alpha. Objective Alpha has been neutralized.
smoke!
Objective marked. We need you supporting the attack. We have Bravo under attack. The enemy is attacking Alpha. Tossed over half our forces. Stay frosty.
Attack order has been set. Enemy attack confirmed in Alpha. Bravo is under attack.
Be advised, defensive position needed on the marked objective.
Need immediate smoke cover!
Sweep the area for all remaining hostiles.
Enemy down!
Hostiles are mounting their defense in final sector. All elements attacked. Move to attack the marked objective. Objective Alpha is in enemy hands.
Need immediate support! Grid marked!
Our forces are hitting Alpha. Objective Alpha has been neutralized. We're taking casualties.
All squads, we have the edge. Let's push on and take victory.